I sat through every single Marvel movie, all 34 of them, and picked out the absolute worst scene from each one. We're going to go through them in release order as I break down why each moment deserves the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. And once we've suffered through them all, I'll crown the one scene that stands above the rest as the most painful moment in MCU history. If this list offends you, perfect. Let me know exactly where you think I screwed up. Starting with Iron Man, the worst scene in this movie is definitely when Obadiah rolls into Tony's house, whips out a magical sonic freeze whistle, and just paralyzes him on the spot. This man pulls out a literal sci-fi gadget we've never seen before, uses it once, and never again. I'm supposed to believe this CEO with a bald head and a jazz addiction is carrying around a paralysis device like he's shopping on QVC? Come on. He kneels over Tony's frozen body, rants about betrayal, and steals the arc reactor from his chest like some off-brand Bond villain.
It's just fate that you survive that.
I actually laughed. It's the one moment in an otherwise grounded movie that feels completely fake. There are other minor flaws, but this scene just doesn't fit. It's goofy, overdramatic, and way too convenient. Moving on to The Incredible Hulk, there are a few weird scenes to choose from, awkward love moments, stretchy purple pants, take your pick. But for me, the worst scene has to be the big final showdown in Harlem. Hulk faces off against Abomination, and everything about it just feels off. The CGI is rubbery, the lighting is dark and flat, and the whole fight plays out like two poorly textured blobs mashing each other in a PS2 cutscene. But the real killer, that cringy Hulk smash line. It should have been epic, but the delivery was so auto-tuned it felt like a parody.
Hulk! Smash!
The entire moment is loud, empty, and strangely joyless. No emotional stakes, no payoff, just monster grunting and property damage. It was supposed to be Hulk's big hero moment, but instead, it's a full-on eye roll. Alright, let's talk Iron Man 2, and I'm betting a bunch of you already know where I'm going with this. The worst scene in this movie, hands down, is Tony's drunken Iron Man birthday party meltdown. He's literally in the suit, wasted, DJing, shooting bottles, and saying he'll pee in front of everyone like it's some kind of frat house nightmare. I get that he's spiraling, but this isn't dramatic, it's just embarrassing. Then Rhodey shows up, they slap each other around in their suits like it's a backyard wrestling match, and somehow that's supposed to be a serious turning point.
You want to be the War Machine? Take your shot.
Put it down!
You gonna take a shot?
Put it down!
No!
Drop it, Tony!
Take it!
Come on, you can feel the tone of the whole movie just collapse. If you're anything like me, you are probably sitting there thinking, did I really just watch Iron Man use his suit as a toilet? I actually don't mind a lot of Thor. Asgard looks cool, the costumes are solid, and Loki's a great villain, but the second we land on Earth, it starts falling apart fast. The scene that really took me out was when Thor strolls into a diner, downs some coffee, and then smashes the mug on the floor, yelling,
Drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
like, what are we doing here? This is supposed to be a Norse god who's been banished by Odin, not a drunk tourist in Albuquerque. I know it's meant to be funny, but it just feels cartoonish. It's the exact moment where Thor goes from mythic warrior to MCU punchline, and for me, that completely undercut everything they'd built in the first half. I wasn't even mad. I just sat there, stared at the screen, and sighed. Alright, so the first Avenger holds up better than people give it credit for. It's got charm, momentum, and one of the stronger MCU romances. But let's not pretend the final Red Skull showdown didn't feel like a total shrug. If you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. Steve boards the Hydra ship, trades a few weak punches with Red Skull, and then boom, the guy grabs the Tesseract and just evaporates into space. No real fight, no satisfying defeat, just gone. It's supposed to be the climax, but it barely feels like a confrontation. And the worst part, Steve immediately crashes the plane right after, so there's zero time to process what just happened. You and I both deserved more from that finale, and instead we got a cosmic glitch and a frozen popsicle. You ever rewatch The Avengers and hit that one scene that just makes you pause and go, did he really just say that? Yeah, we need to talk about the interrogation between Loki and Black Widow. The scene starts strong, Natasha's playing him, Loki's pacing in his glass cage, and then out of nowhere, he drops the line, "Mewling Quim."
Awake just long enough to see his good work, and when he screams, I'll split his skull. This is my bargain, you mewling Quim.
and the whole vibe just dies. I'm not even kidding. I had to rewind it the first time I heard it because I thought I misheard. It's such a weird, jarring insult that completely undercuts what's supposed to be a tense exchange. Instead of clever menace, it just comes off like Marvel trying way too hard to be edgy. Everything else in this movie still works, but that one line, it sticks out like a bad improv take. Next in our chronological order is Iron Man 3, and man, this one still stings. The worst scene by far is the big Mandarin twist. You know, the one where the terrifying terrorist turns out to be a drunk actor named Trevor. I remember sitting there completely locked in on this menacing villain Marvel had been hyping since the trailers, and then suddenly it's all just a
They're
joke.
made by Americans, based on the Japanese recipes.
Hey!
Bloody hell, bloody hell.
Don't move.
I'm not moving. You want something? Take it. Although the guns are all fake, because those wankers wouldn't trust me with the real ones.
What?
Hey, do you fancy either of the birds?
Really? It's not that Ben Kingsley isn't funny, he nails the performance, but the scene pulls the rug so hard it practically rips the floor out. It takes all the tension, all the stakes, and flushes them for a cheap gag. If you were excited to see Iron Man's greatest comic villain on screen, this moment felt like a slap in the face. Let's be honest, you and I both knew Thor. The Dark World was coming eventually. And yeah, this one gave us options, but the scene that really cemented its reputation in meme hell is the one where Dr. Selvig, brilliant astrophysicist mind you, is shown running around Stonehenge completely naked. It's not just a quick gag either. They actually cut to security cam footage and play it straight, like this is some kind of crucial plot update.
I'm here at Stonehenge for what has been an interesting unfolding of events.
After a seemingly harmless rambler approached the area, then decided to strip naked and effectively terrorize tourists there with scientific equipment while shouting that he was trying to save them.
You're sitting there wondering how we went from cosmic relics and dark elves to Stellan Skarsgård streaking through a UNESCO heritage site. It's the perfect example of Marvel not knowing what tone it wants. World-ending threat 1 minute, pantsless professor the next. I'm all for humor, but this felt like deleted footage from a totally different movie. Yet I hate to do this because Winter Soldier is a banger, but the one scene that just doesn't land is when Steve visits old Peggy in the hospital. You've got this emotional setup, the love of his life, decades older, fragile, fading, and then it's over in under a minute. She coughs, forgets who he is mid-sentence, and we're supposed to feel the heartbreak, but it just feels rushed and strangely cold. Not to mention the CGI aging on Peggy's face is straight up distracting.
And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
I remember watching it thinking, am I supposed to cry or be weirded out by her rubbery eyelids? It's the one scene in a movie full of sharp tension and brutal spy action that feels like it belongs in a different, slower film. Great idea, but the execution fell flat. I know. Guardians of the Galaxy is amazing. I love it too. But we've still got to pick a worse scene, and for me, it's got to be the dance-off. Yeah, the big final battle moment where Star-Lord busts out some moves and challenges Ronan to a random dance battle, while the fate of the galaxy is literally hanging in the balance. I get that it's supposed to be funny, and for some people, it absolutely works. But the second-hand embarrassment hit me hard. Ronan just stands there confused while Peter boogies, and I remember thinking, this is how we're saving the universe?
Child, things will get brighter. Then bring it down hard. Someday, put it together.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
Really? After all the buildup, this felt like an SNL sketch snuck into the final act. I still love the movie, but that moment, pure what am I watching energy. You ever rewatch Age of Ultron and feel like there's just a chunk of the movie missing? Because I swear, every time Thor dives into that weird magic cave, it's like we entered a deleted scene they forgot to cut. This is supposed to be a major turning point, Thor unlocking visions of the Infinity Stones, but instead, it plays like a vague fever dream with zero context. I don't even blame you if you forgot this scene existed. It's barely explained, the visuals are confusing, and it ends with Thor just casually returning to zap Vision into existence like nothing happened. I remember sitting there thinking, was that supposed to mean something? It's the one moment where the movie flatlines, momentum gone, tension gone, just soggy exposition in a mystical hot tub. Okay, please tell me I'm not the only one who remembers this scene, because I swear it feels like it was pulled from a totally different movie. Early in Ant-Man, Darren Cross demonstrates his shrinking tech by turning a guy into goo in a corporate bathroom, then casually wipes him up with a tissue and flushes him down the toilet. Like, what? I thought this was a fun heist comedy, not a low-key horror flick. It's such a bizarre, tonally jarring moment that I actually paused to make sure I didn't accidentally hit play on a deleted scene.
I don't think you understand.
We still haven't worked out all the bugs.
It's supposed to show that Cross is unhinged, but it just ends up feeling weirdly grotesque and kind of hilarious in the worst way. You can't just goo a man and move on like nothing happened. Marvel, are you okay? There are a few scenes in Civil War that make you tilt your head a little, like Vision in a sweater or Tony recruiting a literal teenager for a geopolitical fistfight, but in the context of this movie, one moment stands out as especially awkward: Cap kissing Sharon Carter. It happens right after Peggy's funeral, and yeah, Sharon is Peggy's niece. That alone already feels messy, but what really makes it worse is how completely unearned it is. There's barely any chemistry, no build-up, and then boom, kiss, followed by Bucky and Sam nodding in approval like proud wingmen. I remember watching it in theaters thinking, wait, was that supposed to be romantic? It just comes out of nowhere and goes nowhere. The moment's so forgettable, even Marvel forgot it happened. Alright, let me be real with you. Doctor Strange has some wild visuals and cool ideas, but that opening act, it's basically Iron Man with hand tremors. The worst scene for me is the car crash. Not because it's badly made and the effects are great, but because it's just so predictable. Arrogant genius speeds through a storm, gets wrecked, and suddenly we're off on another redemption arc. I remember watching this and thinking, didn't we already do this in 2008? It's like Marvel copy-pasted Tony Stark's origin and slapped a neurosurgeon title on it. And look, I know the crash is important, but it doesn't hit emotionally. It just checks a box. I wasn't invested, I was just waiting for the magic to show up and make things interesting. And that's not a great start. Now, circling back to the Guardians, Volner 2 takes everything people loved about the first movie and dials it up to 11, sometimes way too far. The worst scene, that ridiculous Pac-Man punch-out during the final battle with Ego. I get that it was set up as a joke earlier, but when the literal fate of the galaxy is on the line and Peter Quill morphs into a glowing arcade character, something about that just pulled me right out of it. The emotional weight between father and son, gone. All I could do was sit there wondering who thought this was the right time for a retro gag. It's not that I hate the humor, it's that it hijacked what should have been a powerful, dramatic moment. And once that Pac-Man appeared, the tension never came back. I actually really enjoy Homecoming, but for the sake of this video, I've got to pick something. And for me, it's the scene where Vulture casually disintegrates one of his own guys in the middle of their warehouse hideout. Thinks he's using the anti-gravity gun, but nope. He accidentally fires the disintegration cannon and turns Jackson Bryce into a puff of dust right on the concrete floor.
I can't afford that.
Damn. I thought this was the anti-gravity gun. What?
Like, what? I thought this was a grounded, street-level villain, not a dude vaporizing coworkers for talking back. It's such a bizarre, tonally jarring moment that I actually paused to make sure I didn't switch movies. It's supposed to show that Vulture is dangerous, but it completely undercuts what made him interesting. Up until then, he felt like a blue-collar guy pushed too far. This scene pushes him into full cartoon supervillain mode for a cheap gag. I remember watching it thinking that escalated way too fast. Funny? Maybe, but it didn't fit the rest of the movie at all. We've already seen Thor's serious and awkward phases, but now it's time for his full-on comedy arc. Ragnarok is easily the funniest of the Thor films, maybe too funny. The moment that totally lost me, Asgard is literally crumbling into the sea, the music swells, the stakes are huge, and then Korg casually goes,
The damage is not too bad. As long as the foundations are still strong, we can rebuild this place. It will become a haven for all peoples and aliens of the universe.
like, bro, your entire civilization just exploded. It's a punchline in the middle of a genocide. I get that Ragnarok is supposed to be lighthearted, but this was the one scene that went from clever to completely tone deaf. You're supposed to feel the weight of Asgard's destruction. Instead, we get stand-up comedy from a rock. It's funny, yeah, but it kind of ruined what should have been a massive emotional payoff. Now look, Black Panther is still one of the MCU's most iconic films, and for good reason. The story, the characters, the world building, incredible. But for the sake of this video, we've got to pick something. And if you've seen this movie recently, you probably already know where I'm going. That final fight between T'Challa and Killmonger in the Vibranium mine. I wanted to care, I really did. But the second they started flipping around like rubbery action figures in a pitch black tunnel, I felt nothing. The CGI just isn't there. It's floaty, awkward, and completely distracts from what should have been the most emotional moment in the entire movie. You and I both deserved a brutal, grounded showdown, not a cutscene from a launch-era PS3 game. It's a weak ending to an otherwise powerful film. Alright, Infinity War is one of those MCU movies that people still talk about like it dropped yesterday, and it delivers big time. But even a juggernaut like this has that one moment that made everyone collectively groan. You know what I'm talking about. Star-Lord on Titan. The Avengers and Guardians have Thanos on the ropes, Mantis has him sedated, the gauntlet is almost off, and then Quill finds out about Gamora and just snaps. One punch. That's all it took to wake up Thanos and ruin literally everything.
Asshole! Tell me you didn't do it! No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't! Stop! It's coming! I got it!
I remember watching this in a packed theater and the energy just plummeted. You could feel the frustration in the room. Look, I get that it's emotional, but come on. You're seconds away from saving half the universe. Quill's outburst will haunt us forever, and yeah, we're still mad about it. Circling back to the Ant-Man corner of the MCU, Ant-Man and the Wasp delivers exactly what you'd expect. Lighthearted action, size-changing gags, and Paul Rudd doing Paul Rudd things. But not everything sticks the landing. The ending in particular leaves a lot to be desired, especially the final chase and how they handle Ghost's storyline. You've got this intense setup. Ava is phasing uncontrollably, in constant pain and desperate. Then Janet pops out of the quantum realm and just fixes her. No explanation, no cost, just a warm hand glow, and suddenly Ghost is cured. I remember sitting there thinking, that's it? After all that build-up, her arc gets wrapped like a side quest. You and I both know Marvel's done better. This just felt lazy, like they were already packing up the set. There's a lot of debate around Captain Marvel, but this isn't about the movie as a whole. This is about one specific scene that had me shaking my head. After years of build-up, teases, and mysterious scars, we finally learn how Nick Fury lost his eye, and it's because a space cat scratched him. That's it. Not a battle, not betrayal, not some Dark Sea IELD operation, just Goose the Flurkin casually swiping at him like an annoyed house pet. And then Marvel plays it off as a joke.
Those bad guys still in there somewhere. Oh, mother!
You okay?
Yeah, it's just a scratch.
I remember thinking, wait, that's the big reveal? This wasn't just a letdown, it straight up killed the mystique around one of the coolest characters in the MCU. You probably laughed, then immediately thought, wow, that's really how they did it? Yeah, same. Endgame delivers some of the best moments in the entire MCU, no question. But if we're being honest, there's one scene in that final battle that felt completely staged. I'm talking about the infamous all-female team-up shot. You've got Captain Marvel, Okoye, Shuri, Valkyrie, Wasp, Mantis, and others suddenly posing together mid-fight like they're doing a Victoria's Secret runway across a battlefield, and it's not the idea that's the problem, it's the execution.
Don't worry. She's got help.
These characters weren't even close to each other a minute ago, and now they're shoulder to shoulder in perfect formation, delivering one awkward line before rushing into action. No build-up, no synergy, just a quick moment to yell, look how empowering this is. It should have felt epic. Instead, it felt manufactured, and yeah, we all noticed. Far From Home has some great moments, but the scene that completely kills the momentum is when Quentin Beck drops the act in the bar and reveals he's Mysterio. Up until this point, there's still a bit of intrigue. Maybe he's legit, maybe not. But the second Peter leaves, the illusion fades, and Beck launches into a full villain monologue like he's accepting an Oscar.
To the man who brought us all together, our former boss, Tony Stark. The Jester King, literally wrapped in wealth and technology.
He toasts his entire crew, name drops Tony Stark for the millionth time, and explains every detail of his plan out loud to people who already know it. It's painfully obvious the scene exists just to catch the audience up. And yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal goes full cartoon here, smug, over the top, practically winking at the camera. It's not just unnecessary, and it ruins the mystery, crushes the pacing, and makes Mysterio's turn feel way less clever. Black Widow had a real chance to give Natasha the grounded spy thriller send-off she deserved. And for a moment, it almost gets there. The confrontation with Dreykov is building tension, the stakes are high, and Natasha's finally face-to-face with the man who built the Red Room. And then, she slams her face into a desk to break her own nose. Why? Because apparently she can't attack him as long as she can smell him, thanks to some unexplained pheromone lock that overrides her free will. It's one of those plot twists that's supposed to be smart, but you're sitting there thinking, did we just turn a spy thriller into a deodorant commercial? It's ridiculous. It comes out of nowhere, and it completely undercuts the moment. A headbutt to freedom shouldn't be this hard to take seriously. Shang-Chi had me locked in for most of the runtime, the bus fight, the scaffolding sequence, the family tension, it all worked. You and I both saw the potential for this to be one of Marvel's tightest origin stories, but then the third act shows up and decides, nah, let's throw in 2 dragons and a sky full of glowing soul monsters. The emotional buildup between Shang-Chi and his father just gets buried under a chaotic CGI slugfest. I remember leaning forward, ready for a grounded, brutal final showdown, and instead I'm watching a mythical kaiju battle with zero setup. You probably felt it too, that shift from character drama to Saturday morning cartoon. It didn't ruin the movie, but let's be honest, that finale wasn't earned. It was just noise. Loud, pretty, empty noise. Eternals already has a lot going on. Gods, history, existential crises, and you and I both know it was juggling more characters than it could handle. But the scene that completely falls flat is Thena's fight with the evolved deviant Crow. This guy was built up like he'd be a serious problem. He absorbed powers, started talking, even hinted at some twisted morality, and then he corners Thena in a cave and dies in under a minute. No payoff, no impact, no one even mentions it after. I remember watching it thinking, wait, wasn't this supposed to matter? It's like the movie forgot it introduced him at all. In a film already stuffed to the brim, this subplot didn't just feel rushed, it felt pointless. A total waste of time and potential. Let me set the stage. Spider-Man No Way Home opens with Peter's identity exposed, his life flipped upside down, and college admissions turning him into public enemy number 1. So what does he do? He walks into the Sanctum Sanctorum and asks Doctor Strange to cast a memory wiping spell, and Strange, the former Sorcerer Supreme, just says yes. No questions, no backup plan, just, sure, let's gamble with reality for college. Then Peter interrupts the spell 5 times mid-cast to add exceptions like it's a fast food order. You and I both know this isn't how either of these characters should behave. It's such a forced setup, you can practically see the writers behind the curtain. For a movie this good, this scene sticks out hard. It's messy, unbelievable, and the multiverse deserves better. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is packed with wild visuals, alternate realities, and plenty of Raimi weirdness, but then it ends with a scene that's supposed to be haunting, and I just couldn't take it seriously. After everything is wrapped up, Strange steps outside, hears some ominous music, and suddenly collapses in the middle of the street. He looks up, screams in pain, and boom, a third eye opens on his forehead. And not just any third eye, a poorly rendered, blink and you cringe CG eyeball that looks like it was slapped on in After Effects the night before the deadline. I remember watching it and actually laughing. You probably did too, it was supposed to be a cliffhanger. Instead, it felt like a deleted scene from a parody. That third eye was pure chaos, and not in the cool, multiverse way. We've seen awkward Thor, we've seen funny Thor, but Love and Thunder gives us full-on parody Thor, and nowhere is that clearer than the Omnipotent City scene. This should have been a game-changing moment, the gods of the MCU introduced on a massive scale. Instead, we get Zeus rambling about orgies, flicking Thor's clothes off, and strutting around like a discount sitcom character. I remember watching this and thinking, this is the guy who's supposed to lead the gods. It's not just cringy, it derails the tone of the entire movie. What should have felt epic and world-expanding turned into a cheap comedy skit with gold lighting. And you probably felt it too. The jokes didn't just miss, they dragged the whole film down with them. That scene wasn't thunder, it was thunderous silence from the audience. I really wanted to love this moment, and it had the setup, the characters, the potential, but something about it just didn't land. In Wakanda Forever, the scene where Everett Ross gets confronted and arrested by Valentina, his ex-wife and the head of the CIA, feels like it wandered in from a different movie. While the rest of the film is dealing with grief, legacy, and global politics, this subplot just kind of floats in the background. You and I were here for Wakanda, not for awkward kitchen conversations and government surveillance filler.
Hey Ross, you got a full tank of gas? Can you give me a ride back to Langley?
Whoa, it's an 8-hour drive.
Yeah, we can talk about the case. Actually, wouldn't mind apologizing to you for a couple of things I said during our marriage.
The reveal that Val had bugged Ross's beads doesn't impact anything, and their whole dynamic feels like setup for another project. It's not just out of place, so it drags down the pacing. In a movie packed with meaning, this scene meant nothing. As we draw closer to the end, we hit Quantumania, a movie that should have raised the stakes but instead gave us MODOK. The worst scene, hands down, is when he takes off his helmet for the first time. The second that stretched out, smooth-skinned Darren Cross face fills the screen, you could feel the theater recoil. And then later, when he sacrifices himself, it somehow gets worse. He proudly says,
And at least I died an Avenger.
And you and I both know that wasn't meant to be funny, but it was. The CGI is distracting, the tone is all over the place, and what's supposed to be a redemption moment lands like a parody skit. This scene didn't just flop, it pulled the whole third act down with it. Circling back to the Guardians one last time, Volume 3 hits harder emotionally than the first two combined. You and I both probably teared up at least once, so no shame in that. But even with all the heart and closure, there's one moment that really stuck out, and not in a good way. I'm talking about the destruction of Counter-Earth. The High Evolutionary wipes out an entire planet of intelligent life, and no one reacts. The Guardians escape with one animal family, save a few kids later, and that's it. No grief, no horror, not even a moment to acknowledge that billions just died.
What kind of monster slaughters a civilization?
Where are Mantis and Drax?
I don't know!
For a movie that spends so much time on empathy and second chances, this scene feels like it was rushed past in the editing room. It's jarring, and it deserved better. Let's end on a big swing, because the Marvels definitely took one. After all the build-up, 3 heroines, a cosmic threat, and a multiversal setup, the weirdest moment in the movie ends up being a spontaneous musical number. Yes, I'm talking about the scene on Aladna, the planet where everyone communicates through song. Out of nowhere, we get Brie Larson in a ball gown doing a Disney princess duet with a K-pop prince, while Kamala and Monica just kind of watch. I remember sitting there completely thrown, like, did we just change genres mid-movie?
It's a technicality.
Carol, what is happening?
Their language is song. Most of them won't understand you unless you sing. Come on.
And the wild part, the movie never really brings it up again. You probably felt the same. A mix of confusion, secondhand embarrassment, and disbelief. It's not bold, it's bizarre, and it absolutely derailed everything that came before it. And finally, we land on Deadpool and Wolverine, the most hyped team-up Marvel's pulled off in years. Now to be fair, this movie delivers exactly what you'd expect. Chaos, cameos, and fourth wall-breaking mayhem. But even with all that, the worst scene comes when the movie slams the brakes for a giant exposition dump. Somewhere between the TVA setups and multiverse mechanics, we get this long-winded info dump that tries to explain why Deadpool's in the MCU, what timeline they're in, and how it all connects. It's not that the logic is bad, it's just so dense, dry, and drawn out that it kills the momentum. You and I came here for jokes and carnage, not a PowerPoint presentation with time travel. It's the one stretch that felt like Marvel forgot to let Deadpool be Deadpool. And that's a wrap. 34 Marvel movies, 34 scenes that left us scratching our heads, and we somehow made it through them all. From exploding pants to CGI dragons to multiversal exposition dumps, we've seen every flavor of what were they thinking. But out of all of them, one scene earns the crown. And yes, we've talked about it already, but now it's time to dig in properly. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the third eye scene. It's the final moment of the film. Strange steps outside, the music builds, and then he suddenly screams and collapses as a third eye bursts open on his forehead. It's meant to be disturbing, mysterious, a dark tease of what's to come. But what we got was unintentionally funny, awkward, and visually broken. Let's be clear, this wasn't just bad CGI, this was a pipeline failure. The texture was unfinished, the compositing didn't match the lighting or motion of the shot, the eye floats like a sticker, and that scream, it's not synced to anything. It's ADR pasted over a slow motion zoom with no emotional lead in. You can tell they rushed it, maybe a late reshoot, maybe a last minute VFX insert, but whatever happened behind the scenes, this wasn't approved with confidence. It was dumped in and left untouched. You and I were supposed to walk away thinking, oh no, what's happening to Strange? Instead, we walked out giggling like, bro's got a magic forehead glitch. In a film full of creative swings, this one was the swing and miss of the entire MCU. No other moment felt this botched from top to bottom. It was supposed to be a hook. Instead, it's a meme. And for that reason, the third eye takes the crown.